please pay attention and please support Black Shirt rolling in now.
What defines the American spirit? Preserving life, liberty, and pursuing happiness. Caring for the nation we call home and its people. As patriots, it's our duty to drive the entrepreneurial spirit, pushing hard, reaching for success, sharing patriotism, because the American way of life is for all to live. The Flag Shirt, where freedom reigns.
And this event is also brought to you by the new upcoming rally called Rally for Our Lives. Stand by for a word from General Mike Flynn on the Rally for Our Lives, helping get the 40 million non-voting Christians to vote.
Mike Flynn, and I'm encouraging you to attend the Rally for Our Lives on October 11th, 2024. As I've discussed in my $40 million non-voting Christians. We have to get out there and vote. This is an election to save our country. Our country is definitely at a crossroads, and the church has a critical role in resisting the attacks on our liberties. In this time of vulnerable election systems, it's crucial for every Christian to be heard. Voting is not just a civic duty, it is a spiritual responsibility. This rally will give you the tools to inspire your peers and your pastors to vote and protect our religious liberties. I encourage you to join us and take the practical steps.
When's the rally?
We're having some technical difficulties with the share, so we'll play that video on later. The rally is October 11, 2024. Please go to honorhiscross.org, honorhiscross.org. A lot of us are doing a lot of things to preserve our elections. One of the things that you can do might be sitting right in front of you, and that is your Christian non-voting neighbors. You got to get them to vote. If you get a few of them to vote, it can greatly enhance the integrity of our elections. Honorhiscross.org, October 11, 2024. Back to you, Steve.
Okay, so our next meeting will be October 9th. We're doing it in 2 weeks instead of 3 weeks. And General Flynn has said he will open the meeting. So let's get our first guest today, Ann Vandersteel.
And Ann, go ahead and unmute, and you're on.
All right. Thank you so much. Steve, how much time do I have? I forgot to ask you.
10 minutes, and we're now streaming all the way to Europe. We have one of my friends who's been in my office streaming this in Europe. He just came on.
Great.
He'll be also in Canada and many other areas. So we're spreading all over the world.
That's fantastic. Okay. Well, then let me get started. I probably will share a document or two. It's a lot of information, so I'm going to try and go through this quickly. But unfortunately, we've been hearing Florida is the gold standard, and I know that this election integrity call has actually unearthed a lot of the ways that Florida is not the gold standard for election integrity. But because of the people and the sources that I'm talking to, some who would like to remain anonymous because they're still out collecting public records requests, et cetera. But this information is quite explosive. And this first story I'm going to get into is coming straight out of St. Johns County, Florida, the source, and we're going to be talking about Flagler County. Again, this source doesn't want any public publicity or any, seeking any sort of fame or anything from any of this information, but our election equipment is now operating on Florida's 2005 standards. And those standards do require tabulators to have the ability to communicate with other systems, modems, Wi-Fi, et cetera, which actually literally makes our election systems uncertifiable by the Election Assistance Commission, the EAC, which is why Florida, quote, certifies their own election equipment, and all voter rolls and history are a complete disaster, as evidenced by many of the people that have done these calls, right? We know we have a lot of dead voters, illegal voters, et cetera, people who've moved away. Of course, you can also hat tip the folks at United Sovereign Americans litigation. They have aggregated a ton of that from all over the country. Florida statute S.98.0938B requires that Florida's highway safety and motor vehicles provide weekly data to the Department of State, identifying those persons who during the preceding week presented evidence of non-U.S. citizenship upon being issued a new or renewed Florida driver's license or Florida ID card. The statute also provides other instances where DHS-MV provides data to the Department of State for voter roll cleaning. So really, the DHS-MV is to send anybody that says they're not a citizen to the Department of State. The Department of State is supposed to look at all the voter rolls and then clean them and send them back down to the supervisors of elections offices. That is according to Florida statute. One of my sources out of St. Johns County, who was talking with some folks in Flagler County, namely the Flagler County SOE, has provided his responses in a public records request that contains a table. And I'm going to put that up on the screen right now because I think it's important that you just see what we're talking about here. Okay. Now, in this table, it was created by a lady named Maria Matthews in Flagler County, showing that the Department of State provides some of the DHS-MV motor vehicle records to the supervisors of elections. However, regarding the non-citizen information, Ms. Matthews says that they do not provide the SOEs a subset of the data from the file. Instead, they have to actually conduct their own manual review on a case-by-case basis of the data to determine the credibility and reliability of the match based on demographics from the FVRS. And David, what does this mean? It means that the Secretary of State's office, Department of State from Florida, is supposed to clean the voter rolls and send it back. Instead, what they're doing is they're ignoring the statute. And according to Ms. Matthews, she has not received any of these cleaned voter rolls for 10 years, basically been ignored. This is a massive glaring red flag, in my humble opinion, looking at that report. And priority for us is to understand that we have dirty voter rolls, including non-voters on voter rolls that have actually voted. Flagler County is one of the counties that we do know about. Again, the statute by DHS-MV is to get non-citizen data and then have it removed. Now, the Secretary of State, Coyd Bird, has been roadblocking the Secretary of State to send that DHS-MV cross-check of non-citizens back down to the SOEs. We are very grateful for the supervisor of election and down in Flagler County to be so forthright with this information and to have done the work of cleaning the voter rolls herself. Again, she's expecting this based on the statute to get this every year. It's not being done. It's not been done for 10 years. And that it's important to note that where the supervisor of election indicates that they are not seeing any of the non-citizen data in 10 years by statute, it is a requirement for the DHS, the Florida Department of Motor Vehicles and Highway Safety, to send this to the Department of State. So here we go. There's also a couple of files. There was a lot of data that was sent back to me from this particular source. But as I said, Maria Matthews is the director of the Division of Elections at the supervisor of, the Secretary of State's office. She responded with this table regarding non-citizens. The DHMV is actually federally protected, which means the data that comes out of there had to be scrubbed by the supervisor of elections at Flagler County when she provided it to my source out of St. John's, so that you were not exposed to the names of the voter, et cetera, but that you could tell whether they were citizens or non-citizens. And what's even more interesting is this goes back further. In 2012, Florida actually signed with the federal government the SAVE contract. And this is basically a memorandum of understanding between the Department of Homeland Security, the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, and the Florida Department of State Division of Elections. This is a systemic alien verification for entitlements program with the federal contract. And it was signed up in Florida's Department of State by Maria Matthews herself back in 2012. It was never used, not one time, except one time in 2017. And if they had been using it, they could have had the SAVE system streamline the entire illegal voter roll problem. I could show the contract. I'm going to skip that for right now because I want to be mindful of my time. But here's where this whole fake fight, kind of like a UFC match when you get in the octagon and they're fighting and you know it's already rigged, somebody's paid to win. Coyd Bird, our Florida Secretary of State, did a presentation to the United States Congress back on May 16th regarding the non-citizens voting and how Florida has statutes that prevent this from happening, the statutes that they haven't followed for the past 10 years. There was a recent letter that was sent from Florida's Department of State to DHS, Department of Homeland Security, asking for help on non-citizens, and then saying that the federal government isn't cooperating. Well, this reminds me of what we witnessed now with Operation Burning Edge and, of course, the illegal invasion at our borders. Every single governor, right, state governor, had been lamenting about how the federal government wasn't standing on Article 4, Section 4. So the states were fighting with the federal government. Meanwhile, just like the SAVE Act that was signed in 2012 in Florida, the governors of these states had Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3 of the U.S. Constitution for which they could stand on and say, we're shutting our borders because we're not going to allow foreign invasions, to come across the border. It's just an indicative, example of yet another farce and fake fights that are continuing to occur between the state level actors and the federal level actors. And of course, the people are standing by going, why isn't anybody doing anything? Well, there's lots of people that are sitting on this call that have been doing a whole lot of something. Tim Meisenberger dropped an article in the Chronicle today about smurfing. Smurfing is basically the ability to, if you've ever contributed money into a campaign, they are doing identity theft at the election level or the election fundraising level, and they are now replicating mass amounts of money and dividing it up into smaller doses in your name. James O'Keefe has reported on this, but this smurfing has taken off, and we're talking about both sides, Republican and Democrat, candidates, benefiting from basically fraud money that you or I never once contributed to these particular candidates. PACs are also massively benefiting, including Act Blue and, of course, the Republican Win Red Pact. And then Governor DeSantis is making what we would consider a preliminary defense against Chris Gleason, who's the candidate for supervisor of elections running over in Pinellas County. And of course, Jeff Bongiorno's lawsuits that are coming out of Palm Beach, and any of the United Sovereign Americans lawsuits. DeSantis is now trying to look like he's in the game with some of the information he's pushing out. So again, I look at this, with optimism, because we have uncovered so much information. And again, these illegals that are receiving ITIN numbers, those are independent taxpayer identification numbers that are being dispensed from my source at the IRS, very high level sources telling me they're giving these ITIN numbers to illegals by the millions to allow them to have a legally registered ability to vote, to register to vote, and then a vote can be cast in their names. I can assure you none of these illegals are voting, but a vote will be cast in their name. This is all the different ways they intend to actually game the system to try and steal the election. But because United Sovereign Americans has been so intelligent in their strategy of looking not at the lawsuits through how they lost, how we lost in 22 or 2020, but looking at it as a civil rights violation, as opposed to whether it was votes that were flipped or illegals voting. They're saying, hey, your vote, whether you are an R or a D, is getting canceled by somebody who shouldn't be on the voter roll. Because when you have a bunch of illegitimate voters, it's canceling the good voters, the people that are lawfully there. And that's the argument that'll get to the Supreme Court. That's the argument where you have 9 states right now that they filed the same templated lawsuit is going to actually give standing in the Supreme Court, where the Supreme Court will hear a civil rights case. But if they're hearing a case on how you stole the election in your state, that's the state's problem. And the problem we have at the state level goes back to what I just said, governors fake fighting with the federal government, et cetera. You have governors and you have secretaries of states that are on the wrong side of things, and they're going to put up smoke screens like they're really trying to solve the problem, but they're not. They're continuing to feed the chaos and fundraise off the problem. And this is what we've seen over and over again. So I'm hopeful that the evidence that has been generated by this organization and all the people on this call and election integrity groups around the country will actually be brought into as evidence when the Supreme Court goes, great, I understand your civil rights argument. How do you know that civil rights are being violated? Well, now you can march all that evidence in. And that would be a massive shout out to the team over at United Sovereign Americans, headed up by Marley Hornick and Harry Howery, and everybody who's contributing, because I think everybody is going to get their information into this Supreme Court case. And this is how we can unravel this election debacle. So
thank you very much.
Steve.
You got it. Chip Borgiano. You see him, Raj?
John, I do not see you. Please rename yourself. So by the name John Bongiorno, so I can find you. In the meantime, Deb is ready. Shall we bring Deb on? Okay, Deb Monks, you're up. Go ahead, Deb.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen here
Great.
so I can share a few slides.
Yes, please do that. And in the meantime, John, please rename yourself to John Bongiorno so I can find you. Deb, you're up. Go ahead, Deb.
Rename myself? Okay.
No, that was to John. John
Oh,
Bongiorno, please
that was
rename
John.
yourself. I cannot
Oh.
see you on the attendees list, John Bongiorno. Deb, you're up. Go ahead, Deb. We can
Oh.
see your screen.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I just want to spend a few minutes sharing with you some of the information we've developed around how we can improve election trust and accuracy with transparency and reconciliation. What I mean by transparency is being able to observe in the polling places and the vote by mail counting centers and to obtain public records. There's a lot of paper involved in elections that can be very useful for reconciliation, from poll tapes to ballot transfer forms, post office billing records. And through observation and collecting of these records, we can do reconciliation by a candidate, by a party or a PAC or the public to help improve the accuracy, but trust in the results. Wanted to go through one aspect of risk that we think this is actually ideally suited to address, and that is the number one risk of ballot insertion, deletion, or replacement throughout the election process. 3 of the ways that ballots can be inserted, deleted, or replaced are unique to vote by mail, and that includes being able to insert ballots, delete ballots, or replace ballots when they're being transported to the vote counting center. It includes the risk that within the vote counting center, if security is not tight or you have maladministration, that ballots could be inserted right in the counting center. And last but not least, we have, post office, we have drop boxes, and there's still the risk that illegal ballots will return through these legal methods. There are also 3 ways ballots can be inserted or deleted or replaced in that occurs both in vote by mail and in-person voting. One risk is that ballots could be run through the tabulator multiple times, typically in off hours. The second is that machines could be malfunctioning or hacked, and the images could be created of ballots that don't exist and counted. And finally, the things that we've seen on our national TV, where the election reporting appears to be manipulated. I won't go through. We have actually developed a program of reconciliation that will identify and enable correction of any of these situations. I'm just going to go through one example with you today, and that is what we can do in terms of observation and reconciliation to identify if election reporting is being modified. And that method is using poll tapes, at least in Florida, and I believe in many states. At the end of election day, a poll tape is printed and posted on the doorway. What you see here on the left is an example of a poll tape where you see a red circle around public count. That's the number of ballots that were counted in that precinct. And then it even goes on later in the tape to describe race by race who obtained the number of votes. What we mean by reconciling using these poll tapes is to simply have observers take pictures of the poll tapes or go into the election office after the election and view them and take pictures, and then simply add up, like you would grocery receipts, all the number of ballots reported in each precinct and the voting results, the candidate results at each precinct. And I'm showing here on this slide a theoretical example where you could add up all the poll tapes and come up that there were 15,000 ballots, and they were split in terms of votes between candidate A and B, with candidate A getting 7,000, candidate B getting 8,000. But then if you compare those poll tapes to what's reported, and what's reported is 2,000 more ballots, and those 2,000 ballots went to candidate A, you know you have a problem, and candidate B would have the basis for requesting a manual recount. The good news is Venezuela proved that poll tape reconciliation can work. They did exactly this. They had 10,000 volunteers across the country that went and took pictures or obtained copies of the poll tapes, added them all up, and had a different view of the results than the election reporting system did. It can be easily added to the RNC Protect the Vote program because we already have observers. They simply need to take the pictures and send it to a central point to add them all up. And it can even be easily implemented by local groups. This is publicly available information. It's posted outside. That's just one example of how we can apply reconciliation to identify and address these risks. But there is a method using the paper trail for each of these areas that can be used. For instance, the risk of ballots being inserted, deleted, or replaced during transport. That's reconciling the ballot chain of custody forms, the post office billing, and the facsimile logs with reported number of ballots. And similarly, there's paper in each of these instances that could be used for reconciliation. And the common strategy is reconcile paper, publicly available paper records, with the electronic and publicly reported data. And bottom line is, without going through all the details and all the examples, that we want to achieve daily reconciliation in the precincts and in the vote by mail counting centers that's enabled by observation and records obtainment so that it can be corrected in a timely basis before outcomes are negatively affected. What can you do to contribute to this program? Everyone can contribute, first of all, by helping clean up the voter roll to prevent the creation of illegal ballots. But everyone can also participate in the reconciliation program in one way or another. Be observers, obtain records, and do the reconciliation or send the information to folks who can do the analysis. And also, everyone can promote this program to the RNC and election officials. It's one thing for the public to do this. It's even more powerful if a political party or the election officials do this themselves. And there's benefits from an election official viewpoint as well, because you are reducing the risk of litigation, you're increasing trust, and you will have a more accurate election. From the RNC viewpoint, it's very easy to add this reconciliation, much of it to the existing program, but also to take some of the resources that have already been recruited and apply them to vote by mail counting centers. As you saw in the previous slide, there is a higher risk of ballot insertion, deletion, and vote by mail than there is in in-person voting. And in terms of election officials, our suggestion is for their consideration, perform reconciliation yourselves before certification, publish the information on the results of the reconciliation and the source data so candidates and parties can view it and trust the outcome. And to be truly progressive, allow candidates, parties, and designees to view those ballot chain of custody forms before the ballots are counted. So if there is an issue that a ballot doesn't have, it is not documented, it's not counted, and the voter can vote again. And in general, make vote by mail observation the same level of availability as polling place observation. In many places today, vote by mail observation is much less than the polling place. So that's a quick snapshot. Thank you for your time. If you would like more information on the program or access to the tools we've developed to do this, please send me an email at sdmonks@proton.me.
Thank you very much. Just one thing I'd like to thank Melissa Redpill. She's a real partner. You know, we have 50, 60 podcasters on. Melissa Redpill was the first, and she communicates. And the one thing, we need team efforts here, because we need to spread our word all over the country in getting precinct strategy on. With Dan Schultz, who's on today, has done a wonderful job over the last 14 years of getting people involved. But he and I know we need to get 200,000 more people involved. So everybody's working hard. There'll be a lot of information coming out today. If anybody has anybody that wants to speak on our next call, please get to me. We try to let everybody get on that we can. Okay, our next one is Jeff. He should be there?
Yeah, Jeff is coming on, and right before he comes on, please, if you're watching this, especially on the live stream on all of the different podcast partners, please get up-to-date information on what Steve Stern and the rest of the team is doing. And the way you do that is text the word election to 91776. Text the word election to 91776. You will not get spammed. You will only get updates regarding the critical information that is being covered here and between these calls. So with that, we're delighted to have Jeff Ponchiano Jeff, you are up. Welcome to the program.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. I'm just doing a public records request here at the Palm Beach County Supervisor of Elections Office. And what I want to talk to you guys about are the rules that they're making. They're basically subverting legislation and passing rules that allow them to obfuscate reporting. So right now I was trying to enter a canvassing board meeting, and the sheriff, as you can see behind me, the sheriff and the nice lady at the door said that I was not welcome to go into this canvassing board meeting. So you have to watch your local officials. They're unelected bureaucrats, and they're changing rules. And I'll give you an example of what they did in Palm Beach County. We have a problem with blank ballots. And Palm Beach County reported 59 blank ballots in the 2022 primary, but they didn't want that out there. So we did a public records request, and it came back with a date of September 13th, 1984. Now, I don't want to get too technical, but that means that their system is infected, that there's a process called time stomping. And we know they're on 2005 standards, like Ann Vandersteel just mentioned. They're also running on Windows Server 2008. And it's very easy to inject a PowerShell script, and you timestamp when you want to basically cover up logs. So this report was run, it was a public records request. It showed 59. Now, when the people started asking, is it 1984? They said, well, go ahead and request it again. Now they basically altered a public records request. It's an EL45A. And for the folks in Florida, that's a very important report. Now, Chris is going to come on in 240, Chris Gleason. He's going to go over all of these, all the intricacies of what we need to do public records requests on. One of them is we want the DSDE 160 forms for all of the vote by mail ballots and the IP addresses, because we know that these vote by mail ballots are being ordered in the masses. So we want to know the IP addresses. So I don't want to keep you guys too long. I got tied up in the rain, and we were up in Fort Pierce. They're not letting me into the meeting. So I filed another emergency motion up in the federal courthouse with Judge Cannon to expedite this so I can get an order to attend these canvassing board meetings. And it was a total downpour. And I just did an hour radio with Casey Ingram, AM radio up in Martin County. So I'm going to yield my time to you guys, and I'm going to get dry, and let's pray for the best. Thank you, guys.
All right, thanks very much, Jeff.
Thanks.
John Vieira is there on. He's
100,000 people just saw that. I'll do this.
Great. Yeah, John Vieira is coming on with Votify Now. And right before John comes on, let me just stop this. Someone's sharing the screen. Stand by. Replace current share. Okay, John Vieira, you're up. Go ahead, John, and unmute. You're up.
You guys hear me clear?
We can hear you well. I'm trying to stop someone sharing the screen. Let me fix that real quick.
yeah, Dan has got the screen on. I don't know why he's got his screen on.
Stand by. All right, there we go. Screen share is replaced. And share. And John, you're up. Go ahead, John.
Okay, I can't see myself.
Go ahead, John.
Hey, thanks everybody. So I'm gonna race through some things pretty quickly, guys, and hopefully I'll be able to get the message across pretty quick. First, I want to say thanks to Raj and Steve for having me. Big shout out to Dan Schultz and Precinct Strategy for supporting Votify Now. We've been out since 2021. Anybody can learn about Votify Now at votifynow.org. That's VOTIFYNOW. I believe it's the name of my profile or my thing here. And what Votify Now does, for those of you that don't know, it's wicked simple. I've heard some really complex things here, and I do appreciate everybody and the work they're doing. We try to keep things incredibly simple so that we can try to make a difference. What Votify Now will let the user, it works in several ways. What it does is lets a user, once they download it, they can fill out a quick description also take a photo or video of what they're witnessing as far as election irregularities, and then they hit location. It automatically GPSs where they're at, the time and date, and they hit submit. That is all the voter or user needs to do. It takes them about 10 seconds for that issue to then not go through any bureaucracies, not go to anybody's email and have to wait. That issue in real time within 60 seconds, it gets looked at by our AI model that's looking for false flags, that is also categorizing how serious the incident is. And within 60 seconds, that incident goes up live on our map that you also access through the app. And this is what we think will make a major difference, a major impact in the election cheat that's about to start happening, where the whole country can witness what's happening in real time and make maybe different decisions on where they're going to vote. If they take a look on the app and they see that they see themselves in their town, they see that there's problems at where they're going to vote, they might want to go vote somewhere else if they're seeing the lines are piling up or there's any funny business. So this is how Votify Now makes a massive difference in what voters do. We've been live for almost 4 years. We were heavily used in the 2022 midterms. Our evidence was used in the Carrie Lake case. Unfortunately, things did not go her way, but we are battle tested. We've been live for years. We do not accept any donations. This has been built, and there's been great supporters like Dan Schultz. He's got the Votify Now button. Anybody can download it from precinctstrategy.com. Also, Steve Stern has been a big supporter. Steve, I appreciate you holding those signs up. The other way that Votify Now works is all the issues that everybody are reporting also gets curated into PDF documents that we send to candidates and their lawyers, so that these candidates, within 10, 15 minutes of issues happening in their race, these candidates can have documents in order to start creating affidavits or jurats, whatever you want to call them. And this is critical in giving candidates that are maybe getting, hey guys, is that my mic, Steve? I'm hearing a lot of background noise.
Got your mic.
Is it? Yeah, this is a brand new mic, so apologies if it is. But so candidates can get these reports of any election irregularities in real time emailed to them, so their lawyers can start turning these into legal documents in order to help minimize the amount of cheating. I like to use the analogy of it's like a bank heist happening and the bad guys are on the roof trying to break into the bank. Well, with us being able to blast them across the whole country, you can imagine bad guys are going to get away with a lot less loot, in this case votes, if we're able to show everybody what they're doing, and if the candidates and their lawyers are able to start filing affidavits. So anybody can learn about the app at votifynow.org. I am in talks with Don Trump Jr. About trying to get Protect the Vote to endorse this. As you guys might imagine, the RNC is a very complicated entity. So the great thing about Votify Now is it does not rely on anybody to make any decisions. We've got technology that looks at these incidents happening across the country, and then instantly it goes up on the app that anybody can look at and make their own decisions without anybody interfering. And it all happens within 60 seconds. So this is critical. We're the only election integrity app. There's other web-based websites out there. And by the way, God bless them for trying to do the good work, but nothing works as fast as an app. I'm sure that you guys in technology know that. And one other thing I want to just quickly mention, we've got a sister technology to Votify Now called Authenticity. This is Authenticate Identity. And Authenticity reveals anybody with the COVID mask, which we are certain that the bad actors will be using COVID masks. It lets anybody take a photo of someone with a COVID mask and then using traditional facial recognition tactics and AI rendering, it creates an image of what that bad actor looks like without the COVID mask. This technology has just been uploaded to both Google Play Store for Android, and it's been uploaded to the App Store. So this will be live any day. Just continue to check the the App Store for Authenticity, or you can go to Votify Now, the app or the website where it'll have a link to Authenticity. And I think that's it. I'm sure there's some things I missed, but I like to keep my talks super simple. Again, anybody just go to votifynow.org, read about it. We've been interviewed by Washington Times, Gateway Pundit multiple times, John Solomon, John Fredericks, who was on here, I believe, I'm assuming he's already been on, but he's been very supportive. And the list goes on. I don't want to bore you guys. Anybody can go to votifynow.org to the news and interview section. You guys could watch the training video and the explainer video to see how the technology works. Again, we're the old guys on the block. It's hard to believe that we've been building for 5 years just for this very election, for the 2024 election. And we encourage everybody to report anything that they're seeing on the app. I don't even care if you have a local election integrity group that you're working with. Also report it on Votify Now, because we've got our AI model comparing and learning incidents that are happening on one side of the country, comparing it to the other side of the country. And all this evidence is going to be critical in case the election goes into the courts and there's no decisive winner, on November 6th. So I encourage everybody, votifynow.org. And also Authenticity will be available. Again, the COVID erasing technology that reveals who a bad actor might be. Both of these things, Votify Now has been available for years. Authenticity should be available any day now. And I think with that, I will relinquish the mic and appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to talk.
How do they reach you, John?
Anybody can go to votifynow.org, or they could reach, I believe, team@votifynow.org, or even just votifynow@gmail.com will even get us there. And we encourage everybody to get the app and share the app with everyone you know. We do not take money for anything, so we rely on patriots and grassroots movements like Precinct Strategy and guys like Steve and Raj with these kind of calls. We need these kind of grassroots movements in order to spread the app. I will tell you guys that we've been extremely fortunate. We're doing big campaigns in all the swing state, and we're getting tons of downloads. New users signing up in Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Nevada, Arizona, Pennsylvania, Georgia. So it's been going well, but we can't have, there can never be too many users reporting incidents. So I appreciate if everybody goes to votifynow.org and downloads the app, or go to your app store, whether you have iPhone or the Google Play Store for Android, and you can download it there. And I think with that, I think I relinquish.
Thank you very much, John. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And now we're going to be bringing Chris Gleason on. And if you're watching this on the live stream with any of our podcast partners, we're assembling a directory of all the people that you have on these shows and previous shows. If you'd like that and information about upcoming events that are being put together, please text word election to 91776. Please also visit the two companies that are sponsoring this live stream. You can see that on your screen. And Chris Gleason, thanks for being here.
Hang on 1 second, Raj. Give me 1 minute.
Yes, sir.
Put the screen on. So
You're on.
one of the most important things that I've done, 20 shows here in the last 30 days, and we got a big gold star from the RNC. I'm the vice chair of Broward Republican Executive Committee. ProtectTheVote.com. Why is that important? In Wisconsin, Michigan, Georgia, and Pennsylvania, they are short poll watchers and poll workers. Just in Wisconsin, they're short 5,000 poll watchers and poll workers. Over the last 30 days, we've gotten them about 30,000 new people, but we need more in these states. We're getting them in California and Florida and many places. We now have 75,000 more poll watchers and poll workers than we did in 2022 and 2020. But we still need them in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, because that's where the election is going to be stolen. We know Philadelphia is going to be one of the most important places. So thank you. ProtectTheVote.com. Please sign up.
Thank you, Steve. Very important. Chris Gleason, thanks for being here. You're up. Go ahead and you're up.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Raj, Steve. So we've seen a lot of stuff past few years. We've caught a lot of stuff past few years. But really, what this is all going to boil down to, based on what I've seen here in Pinellas County, the Bellwether County, is that a lot of this is all truly, truly important, because we know that there's going to be a lot of cheating, and we know that this is really going to boil down to lawfare. It really is. With all of the vectors of fraud that have not been fully addressed, this is going to boil down to lawfare. So, laying a foundation and a groundwork for being able to mount a good legal challenge at the county level, at the state level, and nationally is critically important. One of the big vectors of fraud that we saw here in Pinellas County was vote by mail fraud. And we saw that there were 219,675 vote by mail ballots that were illegally requested for voters by somebody. We know that they didn't request them in person, in writing. We know that they didn't request them via the telephone call. And we've recently found out that they certainly didn't do it through the Supervisor of Elections website. So that's a huge issue. In Florida, in particular, the law says that there has to be strict compliance with the law with regards to vote by mail ballots. And it's not optional, it's required and it's mandatory. And so how does a canvassing board legally certify an election where 90% of the vote by mail ballots were illegally requested and then sent out? And then we're finding all kinds of issues with the returned as undeliverables. And more recently, we've found that there are hundreds of people who allegedly requested a vote by mail ballot on this one single day, and they were all dead. So there's going to be some really interesting stuff in the case that I am currently litigating here in Pinellas County. One of the other things that we have identified nationwide at this point, we first identified it here in Florida, and then we identified it in Maryland, and then elsewhere, is this anomaly or fraud via blank ballots. Now, here in Florida, the people who administer the elections have been less than truthful with the voters and the public, and they're claiming that a blank ballot is a blank page of a ballot. And we know that that is not the case. We have significant evidence to the contrary. So one of the things that we've done here in Pinellas County is, in particular with my race, here during the primary in August, we had groups of people going out, voters, and they showed up, they had their IGs checked, they checked in, they got a ballot. They didn't fill in a single bubble. They made no choices. And then they went over and then they tried to cast that ballot as being 100% blank. Well, we know that the machines, if they're configured properly, they are supposed to reject that ballot and give the voter a choice whether they want to cast the 100% blank ballot or not, and to take their ballot back and fill out as they want and then cast it. And so we had quite a few people here in Pinellas County checking that. And I really think, or I'm suggesting that other people in other counties, particularly,
I think we may have lost Chris Gleason.
Oh, I'm here.
Okay, Chris,
here.
go ahead, turn your video off. Your bandwidth may be low, so
Okay.
if you turn your video off, it may sustain your connection. Try that. Go ahead.
Sure.
You're good now.
What I was saying is You got to have, all right, you got to have people at the local level going into the polling places and trying to cast a 100% blank ballot. So you show up, you get your ballot, you go to put it in like it's blank, okay? The machine by law is required to reject your ballot, okay? You get your ballot back, and then you go and you fill it out. But then you know, right, that the machine was properly configured to reject the blank ballot. The other thing that happens is you have now created a record in the audit log of the tabulator. And so one of the things that we've seen in counties like Hillsborough, where bad actors made alterations in the audit logs, we know that we can catch them now by doing this. We identified some of these vectors of fraud in looking at audit logs from other places, like in Texas. Ken Paxton has been a huge help to us in Texas, massive help, because he's required all of the county administrators to hand over all of the machine logs and the audit logs. And that brings me to my next point. The next point, and this is critically important, everybody as voters, as electors, as candidates, we have a right to see that our elections were lawfully and legally administered. And what we know is that we're going to, if you are able to look at these audit logs, you're going to find all of the things that were raised recently in Georgia. So you'll have hash mismatches. You're going to see ballot images being deleted. You're going to see error rates that exceed the maximum allowable error rates. You're going to see all kinds of misfeasance and malfeasance. And so by intentionally trying to cast a 100% blank ballot, catching the machine to make sure that it is in fact rejecting those, that is a great way to be able to ensure that we can stop the cheat via the blank ballots. Because what we've seen nationwide is that in counties that have very large number of vote by mail fraud, also have large numbers of 100% blank ballots. And we know for a fact that this is happening in such scope and scale that it is impacting the outcome of the elections. So there was in Arizona, when I looked at blank ballots there, in just one county, there was enough blank ballots that we identified there that would have made the difference for Abe Amda's race. Just the one county that we looked at that was in ES&S County. So, this is critically important. Lawfare is going to be immensely important going forward because we know that they're going to cheat. They've got too much. They got so much to lose, but with these tools, we can catch them, and they are being deployed. And we're doing that here in Pinellas County, and you can do it elsewhere. So that's what I got. And if you want to follow my work, and I cover blank ballots extensively on my Substack, and that would be immutablетruthelections.substack.com. That's immutabletruthelections.substack.com. And you can follow me on Twitter at immutablechrist. And those are the two best ways to get me. So
thanks
for having me on, guys.
Thank you, Chris Gleason. Please pay attention to the chat. And Steve, Kim is on, so we'll take Kim on next. Kim, you're up. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Kim Yater from the Take Your Power Back show and Take Our Border Back. I'm here in Southern California, and to be on this show is an absolute honor because I know that you guys are the freedom-loving patriots that we speak to and that are standing for this country right now. So there's a couple things I want to share today that are really going to be a difference maker. We're in the midst of taking this country back. We've been putting in the work feverishly for many years. There are many things standing in court right now that have not gotten the moves that we want them to. It hasn't shifted what we've wanted it to shift. But I want to give you guys hope. I want to give you hope because there's a case that was just exposed over the past week and a half. I've been working closely with this case. It is Assistant Chief Sean Taylor of Millersville PD. You may have seen the press conference we just did in Las Vegas on Monday. Craig Salmon Sawyer, Veterans for Child Rescue, and Mark Fincham, along with Chief Sean Taylor. It exposes the mass corruption, the intentional geopolitical shifting. It exposes the fraudulent mortgages and how they're doing it. Taking out a mortgage for $250, that mortgage is then sold for $60 million, $600 million. There are trillions of dollars involved. It is all connected to China and the BRICS nations. The evidence is available. This is why the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation seized Chief Sean Taylor's evidence. Seized it, went to the Millersville PD, seized everything there and in his home, and then urinated in his bathtub, leaving a trail out the door saying, "Piss on you, America." Every single one of us should be absolutely pissed, and excuse my language right now, because they are saying we're going to continue to steal and destroy this country. If you have not watched any of the videos or the press release, it's important. It is key to us winning this election. I want you guys to go to Twitter. If you're at Twitter, I want you to write this down, at real, R-E-A-L, Kim Yeater, Y-E-A-T-E-R, at real Kim Yeater, Y-E-A-T-E-R. Now, our team is working on disclosing the facts, all facts, to the public. And we're going to feed it in bite-sized pieces. Why? Because the normies aren't going to get it. You guys get it. You get it. But we need all of America, those who are not voting, those are still voting on the other side. We need them to get it. I want you to go watch the videos there. You're going to get the lowdown and be ready for more information. Now, why do I share that? Why is that so important? When we look at the border right now, when we look at what we're doing with takeourborderback.com, take our border back, the border is in overflow. It's a bleeding over of the bigger agenda. We're all present to that. 160 nations have crossed this country, men of fighting age, millions, and now they're voting. Listen, I'm preaching to the choir. I know you know. But this case is so important because it impacts all of that. We at Take Our Border Back are making the changes. We understand when General Flynn, who is a dear friend, says local action equals national impact, we take heed and we say, okay, Trump gets in, God willing, in Jesus' name, Trump gets in. We still got to do the work on a local level. That's what all of us in this room have been doing. I know, I see your work out there. What we're doing with Take Our Border Back, the first round in February, was our convoys across America and rallies. We reached tens of millions. We went from crickets in the mainstream media to them actually talking about the border. We saw Abbott close the border. Our teams worked with Abbott on the back end, which was pretty amazing. Okay. Then we went on to hear from Canada. I was at CPAC, 45 interviews in 3 days, eating bars all weekend long. I was done, you guys. I'm walking up the stairs. For those of you that were at CPAC, you know, when you're done, you're done. But I got this download from God. You're not done yet. And when God speaks, you listen. I headed to the direction where I felt called. Within moments, I was introduced to the veterans for Veterans for Freedom in Canada. These are your well-decorated military, those that stood up in the midst of the Canadian convoy, those whose bank accounts were seized. One of them, Eddie Cornell, he just won his first case against Trudeau. These are the warriors. They're in other countries as well, and they know if our republic goes down, if our country goes down, they go down, and there's no hope for them. And he looked at me in the eyes, and these were the words he said: Kim, your eyes are on the southern border. You need to look north. Canada has been flying in illegal immigrants for 5 years, and China has already set up shop. So why does all that matter, you guys? What we're seeing in the Sean Taylor case, that case of 12 years of exposing all of this. And by the way, he's a federal whistleblower. So that information, although the TBI, Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, came in and seized it, it's already out there to the powers that be, and we're getting movement. Okay. So take our border back. From that moment at CPAC, on the phone with Tom Holman, working together, that was the creation of Take Our Border Back North America Alliance, USA, Canada, and Mexico, as sovereign nations, restoring our sovereignty as individual nations, giving power back to we, the people, because that's who should be in power. That's who's really in power when things are in the right order. So that was the beginning of the alliance. So this weekend coming up, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we're in New York. We're in our third round of the Take Our Border Back North America Alliance Summits, Breaking Bread, Table Talk, and Prayer. We are in Buffalo, New York. We're starting with prayer and worship on the 27th. On Saturday, the 28th, Canada and USA meets on the Rainbow Bridge. Not only are we taking back the border, we're taking our rainbow back, because that rainbow is God's promise, Dan, God's promise, Joyce, God's promise, Raj. That's right, it is. We're taking the rainbow back, and we have to remember, guys, we can put in all the work, but we've got a big God. Rely not on your own understandings. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. This battle we're fighting is a spiritual battle against principalities of darkness. And we will win if we put God back in his rightful place. That's a call for all of us. And this is our call to action. First Chronicles 7:14, the Lord says, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves, turn from their wicked ways and pray and come to me, I will hear their voice and heal their land. That is what it's going to take, America. Every single one of us this weekend, go to takeourborderback.com. Find out where we are, book your hotel, get to New York with us, get on the bridge with us. We've got Victor Avila joining us as well, Commander Jake Furman. We've got amazing patriots in the house joining us in Canada for the summit. So on the Rainbow Bridge into Canada, and then we're convoying. We leave later that day, and guess where we're convoying? DC, baby. We're going to DC, Raj. Yes, we are, Steve. We're going to DC for Rescue the Republic. Now, we're staying outside of DC, but our convoy will go around the belt of DC. They've already tried to shut this down. Just so you know, they tried to pull the permits for Rescue the Republic. We've got, Robert Kennedy there. We've got Tulsi Gabbard there. We've got Richard Brand there. We've got, here our commander-in-chief, our real commander-in-chief is going to be there as well. So just know it's going to be extraordinary. That is on the 29th, Rescue the Republic. We will be live streaming. Write this down. If I were Steve Stern, I'd have a sign up here. Write this down. I want you guys to go to borderback.com for all details. And then our live Rumble link. This is our live to all of it. You want to see it live. If you're not going to be able to physically be there, get it live and share it to everybody. Our link is rumble.com/takeourborderback/live. rumble.com/takeourborderback/live. This time is short. It's time for we, the people, to take our God-given power back. Continue to do the work you're doing, but go to my Twitter account at Real Kim Yater. You want to know what's going on with that case and stay abreast. Share the videos. I love you. God bless you. An honor to be with you today. Raj, Steve, all of you, thank you for the work. It is an honor to be amongst warriors.
Thank you very much. Christine Bauserman up next.
Yeah, Christine Bauserman's coming up here. And right before we go to Christine, I just want to underscore something that Kim just mentioned. She started her talk with bringing back hope. And so I wanted to underscore that, such a rousing and encouraging talk that she gave. I'm going to play a short video here about having the people right in your neighborhood, people of faith, Amish, Catholics, Jewish, Christians, 40 million religious people are not voting. We need to help them vote. And how to do that is being taking place at an event called Rally for Our Lives. And here's a word from General Flynn about that event taking place on October 11th, 2024. Here is General Mike Flynn.
This is General Mike Flynn, and I'm encouraging you to attend the Rally for Our Lives on October 11th, 2024. As I've discussed in my book, The Citizen's Guide to Fifth Generation Warfare, The Role of the Church, Christians must take an active role in preserving our freedoms. This event will equip you to help bring 40 million non-voting Christians to the polls. That's 40 million non-voting Christians. We have to get out there and vote. This is an election to save our country. Our country is definitely at a crossroads, and the church has a critical role in resisting the attacks on our liberties. In this time of vulnerable election systems, it's crucial for every Christian to be heard. Voting is not just a civic duty, it is a spiritual responsibility. This rally will give you the tools to inspire your peers and your pastors to vote and protect our religious liberties. I encourage you to join us and take the practical steps necessary to make a real difference in the future of our nation. The cost of standing on the sidelines is too high, and as Christians, I believe we will be held accountable by God for what we did or did not do as stewards of our republic. God bless you, and God bless America.
Get all information on honorhiscross.org, honorhiscross.org, information on how to motivate people, what to say to people, how to understand why people of faith are standing on the sidelines. All that information is available at honorhiscross.org. So thank you very much, Christine Bosselman. Thanks for being with us. You are up.
Hi, everybody. This is Christine Bauserman. I am a warrior and a fighter. I'm in Arizona right now, but I'm fighting in all kinds of states. I have two things I want to touch on. One is go vote early. Dan Schultz just put a great thing. I've known Dan for like 10 years in the chat room. If you guys go sign up for Trump Force 47, I just looked into it last night. I came into Arizona and there's, this is one of the problems. We have 5 different apps. Everybody has an app. Everyone's got an app, but our turnout in the primary was dismal. Okay, so we need to stop talking. We need to stop doing. We need to stop calling Congress. We are here now to fight. We can't, one of my other beefs right now is that during the debate and right after the debate, I can tell you I was inundated with calls of Trump needs to say this. Trump needs to do this. Okay, Trump's a general. He needs the soldiers. Okay, George Washington was a general, but he wouldn't have won that war without the soldiers in the field. So we have to go fight. We have to turn out voters. We have to turn out, 90%. This dismal turnout of, I think in Pima County, we were in 20% for the primary. What's going on, people? We don't have a game plan. We're not out there on the game doing it. So there's another point. We have to run through the tape and keep running through the tape. There's a new plan in town. One is the early vote, getting people registered to vote. The other one is they have flooded ballots. And there's some states, I think Georgia did it, where they wanted to extend, where you could accept them from 2 weeks. So this isn't going to end on election day. They're still taking ballots. They have to be postmarked in Arizona. I believe that day, Dan probably knows at 5 o'clock, Dan, they have to be postmarked. So these ballots are going to keep coming in for 3 or 4 days. You have till 5 days after the election in Arizona to cure your ballot. So last cycle, Katie Hott in 2022, there were 500,000 Democrat ballots to be cured, 400,000 Republican ballots to be cured. The Democrats cured almost all theirs. The Republicans did not. Because we're done, we lost, and everybody goes home. So you got to run. So here's the game. They changed the tape. So you got to run through the tape and then run through the next tape because they've moved the tape down the road. So if you want to help, I also have a new thing I've started called Mega Briefs. There is so much noise out there. There's so much confusion. I have a Karl Marx quote here. Accuse your enemy of what you are doing as you are doing it to create confusion. There is 100% confusion out there. Nobody knows what to believe. So I work for John Fredericks right now. One of the things I'm good at doing is going through the noise in the news. Back to the debate, I have people in Virginia I'm on a chat with where they're Jewish, and their Jewish friends are asking this and saying that, and they want to know how to fight it. So I'm putting in my MAGA briefs things from the Trump campaign, like with JD Vance just now with the cats and the dogs, what his response really is to that, because they're not telling you, and they're not going to tell you, and it's going to get worse. Okay, so here's my phone number. If you would like to help run through the tape, especially in Arizona, I don't know if that's in focus. I guess maybe I have to stop blurring it. Oh, I have to write it backwards. It's
You're okay.
520-235-2344. If you would like to
Put it
help.
back on. Put it back on so we can see it. And take
If
a
you would
picture
like
of
to
that.
help run through the tape, we have teams being put together right now, because what's happened is, to tell you the truth, there's a lot of outside groups and people who think, you know, that the GOP is a mess in Arizona, and you know, they're not happy with the Trump campaign, but I do like the Trump 47. So there's outside groups coming in and funding efforts. But again, go in the chat room and look what Dan wrote. We have to turn, and that's why I got involved in Trump 47. I'm a paid political consultant, and I'm doing Trump 47 for free. I'm downloading that app, and I'm going in not just my precinct, I'm going in this whole area of Tanque Verde, and going to set it up for us to have a game plan to turn it out at 97%. We can't be doing this 70, 80%. And that's what they do. In Georgia, the last cycle, they were supposed to turn out all these counties over 85%. They ended up at 82. The Democrats went into one county in Atlanta, turning out for 97% vote. So it matters. And everybody on this call has to go turn out one person. Okay? So MAGA briefs to get the latest news. And I'll put it in the chat room too. Thank you, everybody.
Hey, our
There's a
special
request for
guest-
your email as well.
Yeah, special guest is John Fredericks. He should be on. See if you can find him.
I don't see John Fredericks just yet.
He says he's
Oh,
on.
one more thing. Let me get one more thing in here. Vote early. Okay, I've been a consultant. Everyone just saw, if you're watching Tucker Carlson, Jesse Kelly was just on there. I was on his staff for his first campaign. We had one of the first recounts against Gabby Giffords. And you know how we did it? We voted early. We ran every election I've ever won in Arizona. We've pushed vote early. Because you know all these apps we have, I think they're shutting down, just like they shut down Romney's Orca. So go vote early and get involved as a poll watcher and poll worker. Thank you.
See if you can
Awesome.
find John. Christine.
Christine,
Yeah.
got it. Stand by. Christine Bosserman, I have Christine. She just spoke. I'm looking for John Fredericks. I don't see John. John, I don't see you in the chat in the listing yet. If you are in under a different name, please advise. And I'm going to unmute everybody, but hopefully I can hear from John. Looking for John Fredericks. Stand by. Steve, I don't see him yet.
Then we'll put on we'll put on Linda Sinkowitz, and I'll try to get a hold of John. See why
Copy
he's
that.
not.
Great.
Okay.
Linda, you're up. Welcome to the
Thank you so much, Raj and Steve, for having me on. I really appreciate it. I'm going to cover 3 things, and I'm going to cover them very quickly because I know you guys are really tight with time all the time. So
No,
one of the new.
We got time for you.
Oh, good. All right. So the first thing I'm going to cover is an initiative we just started. You can go to our website, fightvoterfraud.org. And we have a letter that we put up there. It is in Spanish and in English. And we are asking everyone to go to our website, go to news, click on that first one on top and download the letter. Now, what the letter says is not to lose the American dream. Now, a number of us know there's organizations out there with, stopping illegals and everyone from voting. But the biggest thing that they've been doing is using a stop sign and very intimidating. And the others have been jumping all over them. So we decided to do a soft pedal. And there's a reason for it. Because as much as we have all the illegals that are in the United States, we also have people who want to become US citizens and who are going through the process. 3 years ago, we were approached by 2 young boys in Bridgeport, Connecticut, that were going through the proper process to become US citizens. Partway through it, immigration contacted them and told them they were being deported. They were told by the Democrats that they could vote. You cannot vote if you are not a US citizen, and there is no recourse at all. So I was recently contacted by an immigration attorney who had the same thoughts that I did. So we put together this very soft pedal, like, listen, don't lose the American dream. And if you've already registered to vote, here's a way to unregister. So right now, we're also working on a PSA. We'll have it out on X, hopefully by next week, as well as the letters. So please, go to our website, download it, and give it to everybody, okay? So the next thing is that we have been doing the data request for about 2.5 months now. We have the new data from September. It was updated. And if you want the double registered, double voters in your county or your state, you just go to fightvoterfraud.org, go to data request, fill out the form, and we will get you that information. We are also doing a training, a brief training webinar tomorrow on that. So that's also on our website. So we've had thousands of people contact us. Yes, we are in all 50 states. We're helping out a whole bunch of organizations as well as individuals. We are absolutely thrilled to death that we can get this information out there. And hopefully it'll be beneficial to everyone. So then the third thing that I'm going to talk about is something I was asked to talk about. I'm not all that familiar with it, but it does seem to be another thing that the Democrats are doing. Now, mind you, I am nonpartisan organization, a 501c4, but whenever I have something from one side or the other, I have to bring it forward. Fortunately, the stuff from the RNC is always positive stuff, and this from the DNC is not. So what's going on are the Democrats are pushing for the votes from overseas. That's the Uniformed and Overseas Citizens Absentee Voting Act, the UOCAVA. And as I was reading through the article, I was just absolutely appalled at this. Do you realize that overseas voting, when they register you, you don't even have to prove you're a US citizen. You don't have to show an ID. You can actually pick any place in the country that you want to register. So as I was going through this, I'm like, wait a minute, this is nuts. How can this be? So first, the Democrats are trying to say that they are going to register 9 million overseas voters. Well, we don't have 9 million overseas US personnel. According to the federal documents, there is approximately 2.8 million that are of voting age. So they're trying to do at least 3 times that, or 2.5 times that of what don't even exist. So they're giving us their game plan on what they're going to be doing. So it is just absolutely outrageous with what they are trying to do. So as I was looking at the information, I mean, I was getting really discouraged, to be honest with you. I was just like, how do we stop this? Well, we do have some patriots out there that have been working to stop this, and it's in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania's Heather Honey, whom I had met a few years ago. So what they have done is they had formed a formal complaint against Pennsylvania's Department of State, alleging violations of federal election laws. Now they're with, Heather is with Pennsylvania Fair Elections. They basically assert that the DOS failure to verify overseas voter identities violates the federal Help America Vote Act. So with this, apparently they've been doing it routinely, just, ignoring everything. So this is going to be one more thing that, anybody checking the voter rolls or election stuff in your county, in your town, in your state, we need to make sure that these are verified, that these are people that are absolutely verified. I mean, it's bad enough what we have going on in our country right now with millions of non-US citizens registering in our elections, which another thing, if your state says they have no way of finding these people, go to our website. Last month, the RNC Council sent a letter to the Nevada Secretary of State and gave a detailed list of how they can actually find through the federal government who these people are. So we had a campaign out there, and I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of people actually sent me copies of the letters
Then
that
I
we
need to
sent.
I need to put John Fredericks on because he's got to bounce off the thing, okay? Thank you
Okay,
very much.
well, thank you.
Hey, Linda, thank you. Steve Stern, thanks for having this, for everybody being on it. This is so fabulous because, listen, it's now or never. We've got 40 some odd days to save America, and we got to get President Trump elected. Everything we do, I ask yourself every day, just one thing. Get up and say, what am I going to do today? One thing to save America and help elect President Trump. Register a voter. Take somebody to lunch. Get somebody to be a captain at 47 at Trump Force47.com. Do something every day, and we're going to turn this thing around. I'm going to say something here that's going to be controversial to some of our viewers. The key to winning this election and saving your country, our country, is we have to vote early. This game day voting is insane beyond belief. It cannot work. If we stick to that, and those of you that I know you want to do it, we're going to lose, because we can't give them 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks to vote and we get 10 hours. You just can't win. Secondly, here's the big thing. People say to me, oh, well, I'm going to vote. I get there at 5 a.m. It's a big day for me. We make a festive thing out of it. 110% chance I'm not going to miss it. I'm going to vote. That doesn't matter, because we have a limited resources in this campaign. We don't have the money that they have. That's just a reality. The Harris campaign is outspending us 3-2 on a good day, 2 or 3-1 on a bad day, and we have no ability to catch up. So they have more ads, they have more mails, they have more money. We have a limited amount of money to spend. We don't have unlimited resources like they do. So every dollar that we spend has to have an impact, or we're going to lose. So voting early, here's what it does. Your vote is banked. This is what it means. We don't have to send you a robocall, saves money. Send you a text, save money. Send you a mailer, save money. Call you up, save money. Knock on your door, save money. Drag you out to vote, save money. We don't have to do any of that. Your vote is in, whether it's by mail like I do. I vote by mail, big believer in that, or vote early. We know that your vote is in there. So those of you that are a guaranteed voter that wants to wait until game day, you're hurting the campaign by doing this, because we are spending money chasing down a 100% guaranteed voter. Go vote early. We can take that money and chase down someone else. Now, to give you an example, in Pennsylvania, we have 300 hunters that have a hunting license, 300,000 hunting license members that are not registered to vote. We need to get them registered. We have another 200,000 hunters that have a hunting license that didn't vote in 2020 or 2022. We got to chase them down in Pennsylvania. So why should we be chasing down a guaranteed voter? It makes no sense. The Democrats have figured this out. They got a whole machine going on. That's why mail-in ballot, early voting is the key to winning. I did the Oz campaign in 2022. Whether you like them or not, irrelevant. I went into the odds campaign at 5 a.m. to start my show on election day. We were down by 800,000 early votes. You can't win. There was no way to overcome that on game day. So we got to get these early votes in. We got to bank our vote. We got to get you off the table. We got to save the money so that we can then spend those resources chasing down our lower propensity voters. Now, I'll give you an example. In Virginia, why are we competitive all of a sudden? I was chairman there 2 times, got beat by 5 and 10. Why are we competitive now? We're getting the early vote out. It's happening. Let me give you an example. Just in the 9th district, which we have to have a major turnout there, that's Southwest Virginia, right? On day 1, we had 350 early votes who didn't vote, Republicans who didn't vote in 2020. That's 350 on one day that didn't vote in 2020. Now, we don't have to chase them down, and we're happy they're there. That's why early voting is the key to this election. And there's a lot of people out there saying, oh, vote on game day, algorithms, servers on the moon, drones going around. Look, there's no proof of that. What there is proof of is if they have a 900,000 vote lead in Pennsylvania, they're gonna win going into game day. That much we know. So we have to vote early. It is the key. And it's not because of, well, you can vote anytime you want, or, we just want to be sure your car doesn't break down. We're way beyond that now. This is survival. Your vote early saves a campaign with a limited amount of money based on our opponent, the finances that we need to get out the lower propensity voters that are going to turn this election. And if we win Pennsylvania, Trump's president. All the polling numbers right now favor us. We have more voters in Pennsylvania than they do. We have more voters in Georgia than they do. We have more voters in North Carolina than they do. We just got to get them out. And if we get them out, we're going to win. Questions?
John, tell them about your program, your radio show, so people can get on. We are broadcasting to Canada, to Europe, and many, many other places with 50 podcasters.
Listen, so good to have you guys with us. Just go to johnfredericksradio.com. My wife, Ann, and I own about 20 radio stations. I'm on 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. You can download my app there. I'm also simulcast on RAV, 7 to 8 a.m. outside the Beltway, Real America's Voice. And that's my TV show that simulcasts with radio. But look, we're not selling our company to George Soros. I mean, right now we got a ruling by the FCC, which is now weaponized like every other agency, which is unbelievable, fast-tracking Soros's purchase and takeover of Odyssey Radio, 200 stations in 40 markets. This is unbelievable. With a potential audience of about 160 million people, they're fast-tracking that. Why? So they can get him in control before the election. Why? So they can jettison off all conservative talk and put in what I call communist talk. You got to remember, when George Soros buys one of these companies, they don't make any money. They give the station manager, get this, they give them a budget of how much money they can lose. That's what, I mean, this is incredible. They're just buying them up. They can't make any money. Nobody will buy this crap, but it's incredible. They give them a budget and say, you can only lose this much money and you got to put out our communist propaganda. I mean, that's what they're doing. The FCC has been weaponized. Look, I'm part of it. I'm a radio station owner like everybody else. We got to get Trump in there so we can get a 3-2 majority back on the FCC. Every day, what are we doing, right? And, Facebook is fine and all that stuff, but we got to get our voters out. We got to get them to the polls. You go and vote early, get that off the table, and we can go from there. If we do that, folks, we're going to win. By the way, I have a big election night show, November 5th. It's going to be in Greensburg. We got a great panel there. You can check us out there. I'm also on In the Morning X Live, YouTube Live before they ban me again, whatever else, Getter Live, and Rumble Live. Steve, I really want to thank you for putting these on. You're the Energizer Bunny of all time. Your indie fatigue. I think they just get up and they like wind up Steve. They just wind him up at like 5 a.m. and then he just goes around, and then finally at about 10 p.m. he just drops. I mean, I think that's what he does. I've never seen a guy with so much energy.
Tell them about your bus tour.
We got a bus tour going. Go to magabusstour.com. I'm focused right now on Pennsylvania. I might go to Georgia for a week, but we go to event after event every day. We do our show right on the MAGA bus, the Trump bus. You can come out, find out where we are, join us, sign the bus, and we're just trying to do everything we can to motivate people, go to the rallies, get out the vote, get people engaged, and that's part of it. So just go to magabusstore.com. I think we'll be in Hanover on Saturday with Doug Mastriano, and of course Butler is going to be on October 5th. We're going to be there. Trump going back, we heard about that. We're going to be there, but so many ways to get engaged. But look, I just want to thank everybody for everything you're doing. This is a team effort. I've been part of the Trump campaign since January 2nd, 2015. So a long time. We've got the best ground game we've ever had, the best team in place we've ever had. And it's going to take every one of us to win and to save this country. And I appreciate everybody and everything everyone is doing, and especially Steve Stern, my man. Go to flagshirt.com. Go to flagshirt.com. Wear your flag shirt proudly. Steve, thank you.
You're in Pennsylvania. Tell us, a
Yes.
lot of people want to know what's going on because they're not in Pennsylvania. And Pennsylvania is the key to the election, in my understanding, and Philadelphia is the key to Pennsylvania.
Well, here's some good news. We've got more voters than they do in Pennsylvania. Our polls show us up slightly 2 or 3, so it's going to be a barn burner like it always does. Those are our internal polls. The good news is in 2020, the Democrats had a registration gap of nearly 800,000. Think about this number, 800,000 more Democrats than Republicans. We have cut that by 500,000. It's down now. It's now down to under 300,000. And we actually now have a majority of Republicans registered in some key counties, Bucks County being one of them. So Republicans are coming home, and Pennsylvania is different. I mean, Biden won Pennsylvania, or allegedly, right? I mean, I think he stole it, but on paper, I guess, fake ballots, he won Pennsylvania, but he got a lot of votes here. Harris isn't going to get those. So we got to cut into vote in Philadelphia. We got to cut into the vote where I am in Pittsburgh. We have a great big rural turnout. That's why we're out going to rural areas in our bus tour. But our ground game in Pennsylvania, that's led by the Pennsylvania State Director of the Trump campaign, Ashley Wajlukovic, is the best in the nation. I said that today on my TV show. She's doing a fabulous job. It is the best in the country. It's palpable. I see it every day because I'm here. And if you just take absentee ballots, the application for absentee ballots, we have cut into the Democrats' margin by 35%. So we're 35% better on absentee ballot applications today than we were in 2022 during the Oz campaign. So things are moving in our direction. So I feel very good, very confident about Pennsylvania because of the ground game that we have, because of the team that's there, and because of that. I tell you the other interesting thing, and then I got to take off. Governor Shapiro thought he was going to pull a fast one. You're going to find this to be amazing. He thought he was going to pull a fast one, and he implemented motor voter in the beginning of 2023, right? He implemented, or the beginning of 2024. He implements motor voter, doesn't get a legislative vote, does it by executive order. He says, wow, I'm going to get all these people registering to vote. They're all going to be Democrats. We're going to win big. I'll just sneak it in there. Guess what happened? Republicans in motor voter at the DMV in Pennsylvania, since he instituted this, have outnumbered the Democrats registering. In Pennsylvania, if you register to vote, you have to say Republican, Democrat, or Independent. Republicans are outpacing Democrats 3-1. They're outpacing independents 4-1. So we got all these new voters, mainly Zoomers, getting their driver's license, right? All these new voters coming in, and they're registering as Republicans. So it blew up in Shapiro's face. He didn't see this coming. We feel really good about Pennsylvania.
Fantastic. I know you got to run. Thank you so much for giving us your time. Anybody who wants to get a hold of you, how do they reach you?
Best thing to do is just don't do the DM thing. I got to tell you, I just don't respond to that. Just email me, John@jfradioshow.com, john@jfradioshow.com. And if you're looking to come on our show, just go to Christine Bowserman, who you just heard from, my political director, Christine@jfradioshow.com, and she'll work you in. I want to thank everybody for what they're doing. And November 5th, they're saying, oh, this thing is going to go on for weeks. No, it isn't. It's not going to go on for weeks. It's going to go on for one day. Trump is going to be declared the winner at 3 a.m. on November 5. Set your bank on that. We are going to win with your help, and we're going to save America. Thank you.
You got it. Okay, John, have a good one.
Thanks, guys.
Fantastic. So one of the things I want to say real quick before we get Dr. Frank on, Scott Pressler is doing a wonderful job in Pennsylvania signing up people. Even though he does it by himself and he's not a team player, I have to say that he has gotten more people signed up probably than anybody. We just need to clone him and get people like that in every state. Because if he can do it, other people got to be able to do it too. Okay, you want to get Dr. Frank on?
Great, Dr. Frank, you are up.
I'm here.
All right, we can hear you loud and
Right
clear.
on
Go ahead.
time. Right on time. We go right on time.
Good to be with you. I'm here in Alameda County, California, in the belly of the beast. I just gave a presentation to about 200 people at a meeting here in Silicon Valley, and they think that they're the origins of all this. And in one way, they're correct, right? The problem with our elections is they're now centrally controlled, and so central control in software is really the problem. We have to take back local control. I've been going around the country, as you know, for several years now, since 2020. And listening to the former speaker talk in this call just illustrates what our problem is in this country. I call them hamster wheels. There are a whole bunch of people running around doing stuff that they think is going to make a difference, and it's not going to make any difference. The core problem is that we're not in local control of our elections. And Stalin put it best. He said, it doesn't matter who casts the votes. What matters is who counts the votes. And I've been doing penetration tests all around the country, proving that all the machines are connected. And I started my work in 2020 in Pennsylvania. I'm quite familiar with what's going on there. And what I've proven all across the country is that the elections are centrally controlled. And I thought, being a physicist and Nobel Prize nominee in chemistry, I'm a real mathematician, real scientist. I thought that if I spoke to legislators and secretaries of states and hacked into their elections right in front of their face, that they would fix their elections. And that just shows how naive I was. They call it political science, but it's not science. It's something else, because when you present truth and logic and evidence, they don't respond accordingly. You recall in the state of Pennsylvania, when Doug Mastriano asked for an audit of the election, what was his reward? A war hero, a Republican legislator in a Republican majority state. He was removed from all of his committees. He lost all of his seniority. They took away his staff and his office. That's what you get for being a Republican who cares about election integrity in this country. And I can tell you, I've been doing this every day of my life since December of 2020. I gave up my career, my personal income, and this is all I do every day is meet with people around the country, and been given over 650 formal presentations to large audiences. And that does include all my meetings with the people at the local level. So I have a really good idea what's going on around the country. And I can tell you, any legislator that steps up and wants to make real change in our elections, they're redistricted out of existence. They're removed from committees. I can tell you state after state, Missouri, Kentucky, Louisiana, Oklahoma. When the Secretary of State, the Attorney General of Oklahoma asked me to come speak to the legislature in a special private session, the Secretary of State there sent out notes to everybody in the city, in the state, don't attend this meeting, and banning me from being able to meet with the clerks. The legislatures are our problem. The establishment Republican Party is our problem. They're pushing a strategy which isn't going to work, just like it didn't work in 2022. And, how did that turn out, everybody? How did that red wave turn out? So I'm going on record right here in front of everybody. If Trump happens to win in 2020, if he happens to get more ballots because of some amazing miracle, he won't be sworn in. And I'm telling you right now, That's because we don't have a single legislature in this country that will back him. That is the problem. He didn't have a single legislature willing to back with him in December of 2020 either. Okay. And that's why he had to step down. And Pence didn't support him either. So our problem is that we don't have any legislatures in this country that are actually in favor of election integrity. So that's why all of my effort as I've been traveling the country, they call me the Johnny Appleseed of election integrity, is focused at the local level. And I call it 7 steps for restoring our elections and reclaiming local control. And all it really is just teaching people how to be the government again. We've forgotten how to do that. Because for so many decades, we've relinquished control of our schools to the government. We let other people teach our children. We let other people run our government. We let other people run our elections. That's the problem. The problem is us. We, the people, are the problem. I love Trump. He's a great, probably the best president of my life, but Trump is not our savior. Even if we elect him, we have work to do. The American people have been asleep for too long. We need to wake up. We need to re-engage. We need to become the government. Now, that's my negative side. On the positive side, since I do this every day, I get to work with the best patriots all over the country. It's been very exciting. I see political revival happening. I see spiritual revival happening. And everywhere I go, I'm starting those little bonfires and throwing gasoline on the ones that are already going. I'm working every day to do that. So I see that happening in America. But what people need to understand is that it's taken us decades to get into this mess. We're not going to get out overnight. There's no silver bullet. All this idea about voting early and stuff like that, that's not going to fix the problem. All you're doing when you vote early is you tell the bad guys how many votes they need to stuff and who to stuff them for because those names are used. It doesn't fix the problem. I can prove it over and over again, state after state. There really is no solution except to take back local control of elections. But in the meantime, the best next step is to turn out in large numbers. The more we vote, the more people vote, the better, the more easier it is to find the fraud afterwards, et cetera, because they have to stuff more to compensate for our turnouts. And I'm not saying that, one of the things people say to me all the time, well, see, Dr. Frank, if it's a lost cause, why should we even vote? The whole thing's rigged. And I always put it to them this way. In an election where there's ballot stuffing, which is what we're up against massive amounts of ballot stuffing. And if you don't believe me, just look at the graphs. Everybody's seen that graph of the Michigan graph that goes like this. And then at 11 o'clock at night, it jumps straight up. That's not flipping of votes. That's stuffing of votes at the last minute by people who have access to the systems. So I don't care how much early voting you do or how much harvesting you do or how much registration you do. They can add as many as they want at the end. That's the problem. You have to take back control. So I always tell people in an election where they're stuffing ballots, your ballot, if you're one of these people who says, well, I never vote because the whole thing's rigged anyway, think about it. You're stopping somebody from stuffing your ballot when you vote, and then you're voting for whatever your selection is. So actually, for these people who say, I never vote, it's all rigged, nuh-uh, their vote is even more important. Their vote counts double. So I'm not discouraging people from voting. I'm encouraging everybody to vote. And I always tell people, vote Amish, because in Ohio, we had 20,000 Amish people show up to vote for the first time ever in 2020. Why did they turn out? Because the pain level was high. I like the way General Flynn puts it. He says, the reason why America is in the situation is because the pain level isn't high enough yet. I mean, think about what happened in 2020. We had all those super moms discovered what their kid, all those mama bears were discovering what their kids were learning in school. Look, it woke them up. Look what happened in 2020 with the election. That's when I got engaged. Holy mackerel, these elections aren't real. We got to address this. So in other words, the worse the pain gets, the more success we're having. And, here I am in California and people are telling me, why are you in California, Dr. Frank? That place is communist. That place is Marxist. You're wasting your time. Actually, we're having more success in California than anywhere else in the country. Why? Because the pain level is high, because the Marxism is high, because the pain level is high, the people are awake, the people are engaging, they're engaging my 7 steps. How do you think it happened in Shasta County? And here's some good news for you. You want some good news? Huntington Beach, the city there, 400,000 voters. They just announced in March, they're going to all local elections, all local control starting in 2026. They're going to have all paper ballots on election day, hand counted, photo ID, signature, whole 9 yards. Well, why can that happen here in California if they're so communist? Because they're communist, pain level's higher. I like the way Flynn puts it. He says, all you people 60 years and older think you're going to enjoy your retirement. You're wrong. He says, you've just been drafted. You were the ones on duty when we lost our country. You're the ones that are going to have to clean up the mess. What are you going to do? Leave this mess that you allowed to happen to your children and your grandchildren? No. You're the ones that have the time and the resources and the money to address this problem, and it starts local. General Finn says local action, national impact. I always encourage people, don't try to fix your state. That's a waste of your time. Fix your county. And as you fix your counties, multiple counties, then the state has to address the problem. So that's basically what I've been doing, going around the country fighting this stuff. All this talk about early voting, bank your vote. Yeah, like you really think how do you even know if it's your vote that got counted? Especially in a state like California where they mail ballots to everybody. My ballot back in so I know it got counted. Yeah, right. How do you know that? That's the stupidest thing ever. The only way you know you got your ballot counted is if you put it in and you made sure they hadn't tallied a ballot for you yet. Now you put in a ballot, now you know your ballot at least had a chance of getting counted. But like Stalin said, if you're not the one tallying it at the end, that's not what matters anyway. But anyway, I'm rambling a little bit here. I don't know how I'm on time, Steve. How long did you want me to talk?
Well, first of all, let everybody know how they can reach you to be able to let them know how they can get you in their city because you're such an important person.
Well, thank you. I don't have any websites left. They've been all taken down, but I have social media sites. So you can follow me on social media. My Facebook page is Douglas G. Frank, no period, Douglas G. Frank. I've got something like 20,000 followers there. My Telegram is Follow the Data with Dr. Frank. My Twitter is Follow the Data with Dr. Frank. My Frank Speech and Truth social or Follow the Data with Dr. Frank. So that's how you can find me. That's usually the best way. And I've got my 7 steps brochure on there too. You can download. Keep in mind, this is just a skeleton of how to take back your elections, but it's working all over the country. It's basically a constitutional argument. So that's the answer to your question.
So we'll have you on again, if you will, in a couple of weeks. I'll get a hold of you because we want to get this message out more. We're going to have 100 podcasters on next time. We have 50 on today. Some of them could get on because of the links. And that's the problem with everything that I'm doing. You know, it takes hours and hours even to get everybody on time. So you ran out of time this time, but we'll get you on. Thank you very much.
Pleasure to be with you, Steve. Thanks for having me, my friend.
I have Greg Stenstrom on, but I'd just like to tell everybody about Steve Bannon. Captain Bannon couldn't come on today. He's doing good. He's getting restless. He wants to get out of there as fast as possible. He tried, he got turned down. So he's coming out probably about a week ahead. So get your shirt, standwithbannon.com. You know, I promoted that. It's very simple. Let's get people to get it. Standwithbannon.com. Get your shirt. Elect President Trump. There's a lot of talk on a lot of things. There's a lot of stuff coming up. We get all kind of people saying everything, but you know what? You got to vote. If you don't vote, you don't got a chance. So Greg Stenstrom, you're on.
Yeah, right before Greg comes on, want to again thank the Flag Shirt for making this event happen. This takes a tremendous amount of work, a lot of people. So please help us pay the bills. Also, people are asking about how to get the replay. Steve's got that right there. Go to sternamericannews.com, sternamericannews.com. You can also get links from there to Steve's Rumble channel. Steve's Rumble channel is Stern American on Rumble. You can get the replay to this show and all the previous shows on Stern American on his Rumble channel, and also go to sternamericannews.com, sternamericannews.com. And right before we get Greg on, I want to share, especially for those of you that are watching on the live stream, please listen to this special word from the Flag Shirt. Here it comes.
What defines the American spirit? Preserving life, liberty, and pursuing happiness. Caring for the nation we call home and its people. As patriots, it's our duty to drive the entrepreneurial spirit, pushing hard, reaching for success, sharing patriotism, because the American way of life is for all to live. The Flag Shirt, where freedom reigns.
Thank you.
I've been around in business for 70 years. There's not too many companies that can say that. May 20th was my 83rd birthday. Steve Bannon sent a team down. They put us on live in my warehouse. We had 70 people here, some of the people I hadn't seen in 50 years, and we had a big event. So when you're in business 70 years, theflagshirt.com, I don't promote it too much on this because, you know, we try to get everything covered and we don't have a lot of time. So the best person that we got, Greg Stenstrom, we saved him for last. He is the man of the man. This man, it's hard to even for me to get him on the phone, and he loves me, but I love him. And he's a flag shirt guy. So Greg, take it away.
Hey, it's glad to be. I'm really thrilled to be here again. Listen to everybody today, and so impressive. This group of people. Really proud to be associated with all of you. So just wanted to say that, Steve, what you've done is amazing. I've got to time my laundry day to have my flag shirt ready to wear for this. I just wore it again. It's in the laundry. But I got to tell everybody. If I
Hey, wait a minute. That means you got to buy a new one. So you put one in the laundry, you got one on.
That's smart. Yeah, but it's a love for everybody. It's the way Steve. No one's getting paid here, and it's the way Steve keeps things going. And it's a great product. Love the shirt. You got to wear it. I get comments on it wherever I go. It's a really, really nice shirt. I got the flag one with the vertical stripe, Steve, with the collar and the button down. Gorgeous shirt. I get compliments on it everywhere. So I just wanted to give you a plug there to say.
Yeah, hang on one, Greg. I want to tell you a little story that happened last night to everybody. Very important. We had an event at Gulfstream Racetrack on Saturday, and we had Roger Stone talk. Roger Stone and Senator Scott. Roger Stone did such an amazing job that three people, who one was a billionaire, two millionaires, came up to me after things, said, you know what, we've been sitting on the sideline for a long time, and we're going to step up. Now, if you can imagine around the country how many billionaires and millionaires that don't step up for the Republicans, but do step up for the Democrats. Now, can you imagine if they started pouring money into everything that we're doing? We could buy CNN, we could buy NBC, we could buy ABC, and we're talking to a lot of them. So last night I went to dinner with one of them. I gave him a flag shirt for his birthday. He says, you know what? That's the nicest thing anybody ever did to me. He's going to have 100 billionaires have me in front of them, talking to them about why they should get involved. So, when all our people need money, Linda Sinkowitz, Greg Stenstrom, Dan Schultz, we all can use some dollars to make this thing better. So if you get out to all your people and start talking about it, you're going to see a big difference. And, I always say action, action, action. Well, this really made me feel good that somebody actually came up. Now, one guy was in my neighborhood. He gave $200,000 to a PAC, and he never was involved in politics. So, that's so important. And I want to thank all our podcasters that are on today. This is going to Europe. This is going to Canada. This is going everywhere. So that's an unbelievable. 2 weeks from now, you're going to be back on, and we're going to have this in front of 300,000-400,000 people.
Absolutely. And I got to say, from an efficacy standpoint and an effectiveness, these podcasts and talking to everybody, because most of the people on here are, the 1 or 2% who are actually acting and trying to, lead people. And it's absolutely one of the most effective programs that has been going on, Steve. So, I've connected with everybody. I was out in Vegas this last week with, Joe Hoff, Matt Mack, Linda was out there, and I had the pleasure of meeting her in person. And it's a real encouraging thing to know that we have a chance of winning. So I want to get into, I had a few points to cover. What's our time, Steve? Do I got to do 5?
You're the last one. So.
Oh, I'll keep it. I won't keep you all too long for the people that are left here, but I was listening to the previous speakers, and the one thing I want to touch on and prepare people for, and it contradicts some of the people. Everyone has got an opinion, but I think it's safe to predict that on November 5th and 6th, they're not going to announce Trump as the winner. On November 5th and 6th, they're going to announce, no matter what the count is, they're going to announce Kamala Harris as the winner of the presidency. It's a foregone conclusion. They've already telegraphed that. They've told us that's what they're going to do, both on the Democrat side and the Republican side at the corporate level. The media has told us that much. The DOJ and our government has told us that. The continued assassination attempts against Trump shows what they're willing to do. So what we have to prepare ourselves for is November 5th and 6th, that they're going to announce Kamala Harris as the president. That doesn't mean she won. So what we have to understand is the cognitive dissonance that everyone here probably suffers from, or most people, is that they're actually counting the votes we're submitting. Now they're getting them, and you have to show up. We have to vote. It doesn't mean we're not voting. It just means we're going to have to fight after the election to demonstrate massive election fraud, to convince people of what the real vote is. We know how they're going to cheat, who's going to do it, when they're going to do it, where they're going to do it, and we're waiting for them. We're ready to go. And unlike 2020, when we couldn't give the courts and we couldn't give the authorities, we couldn't give our legislatures the hardcore evidence that they needed to challenge the election. So what's going to be different this time is our neighbors, our friends. Those are the people that are in our state legislatures. They're not anonymous. These are people in your state legislature, your state representatives, your senators, your commissioners. These are the people that have to certify the vote before it's given to your respective governors. So the election's not over on November 5th and 6th. The election's not over until it's certified, right up to January 20th, when it is a requirement by law that the president is seated, whoever that is. But it's not over until it's over. And we have a game plan this time to counter the cheating. So all this stuff, this all comes down to a basic math problem. It really does. And I'll say this, the hotbeds of where the fraud is going to be implemented is any place with a centralized counting center. I know I just have to repeat it because there may be new people here, but there's 3,143 counties in the United States. All right. Everyone's heard of swing states, but no one's heard of swing counties. So we call them pivot counties. It only takes 20 counties to change the entire national race. That's it. So it's a math problem. They just need to target specific counties. And if you really look at it, President Trump in the last two elections won 2,700 of those counties. I'm giving a rough number here. And Clinton and Biden, in particular, Biden won 400. 2,700 counties to 400. And of the pivot counties that were required to carry the swing states, Trump lost in all of them. He quote unquote lost. And, I'm tired of hearing people say there's no evidence. We have shown over and over again there's massive election fraud in 2020, massive election fraud in 2022, and there's going to be massive election fraud in this election. Massive. We have the evidence. We've already been to court. A lot of it has been adjudicated. It is a matter of public record. The public in general might not, has not heard of it because the media has been silent, and it hasn't allowed people to know this. But we've been sued multiple times. Leah Hoops, myself, we've been sued for defamation along with President Trump as a co-defendant, and over a 4-year period. And we used truth as a complete defense. That was our defense. We said, look at for defamation, I'm not going to sit here. Most of the defamation cases are settled as a matter of procedure. Do they have standing? Is it a public figure? And it's decided on the minutia before the evidence is ever considered. We had all the evidence. We've got all the evidence entered in the courts that exonerates President Trump and Lindell. So if anybody ever says to you, well, there's no evidence of election fraud, including the GOP. It drives me crazy. Drives me crazy when they say, oh, there's no evidence, or, you know, the elections are fair and square. We know for a fact they're not. It's because we know that we know how to counter it. So I actually hope I'm wrong. I hope on November 5th and 6th that they announce President Trump is the winner. But I don't live on hopium. It's not in my diet, and I can't live on hopium. None of us can afford to live on hopium. We have to prepare ourselves. So 3 quick, covering the cognitive dissonance is that, the people that show up equals, the number that's reported. The second thing is understanding that it's a math problem. The third thing, and everyone needs to be prepared for, is the election's not over until it's certified. And we have to be prepared to work forward to that. Now, I hear all kinds of strategies. I heard, John Fredericks, who I respect, also, Lindell. There's a lot of good people with good ideas. And I don't want to, crap on anybody, because right now we have to have, even if we don't all agree, we have to have, I want to say, unity and effort, if anything. So as a fraud expert and having done this for 4 years, while, early voting, there's benefits to that, as John said, for us to be able to prove fraud, the most difficult thing that they have to overcome, and I say they, meaning the people who are stealing the elections, which is a very small number. The election day voting is the hardest for them to manage, because if they do, we're prepared this time and they know it. So if they use machines, or they use malicious software to change the vote, over the last 4 years, we've secured the court orders and created the body of law that allows us to look at those machines before, during, and after. Really, really tough for them to cheat on election day if you show up. So my recommendation, and I'm not, it's my recommendation to show up on election day with a box lunch, bring a picnic basket. Once you get in line, no matter what's going on, they don't have the ballots, there's an internet crash. I don't care what they do. Everyone just chill out, bring get a bucket of chicken or whatever you got to do, bring some lemonade. If you're standing in line on election day, they must allow you to vote, even if it's midnight or 2 o'clock in the morning. Once you're in line, they must allow you to vote. And the beauty of this thing is it's a privilege to vote, and you should enjoy it. Anybody who mails the ballot in, it's kind of a letdown if you think about it. Very anticlimactic. I'm going to just drop it in the mail and it's going to disappear into the ether. And then I got to trust that the people who receive it, who have been stealing elections, are going to count it. I'm a visceral guy. I want to be there. I show up and I vote, and it's you're participating in the process. And they can't. I think there's a big part of elections that's energy. And I think one of the things you do when you drop your ballot in the mail, you're losing that energy, and losing that energy of excitement, and letting people know that, hey, it's election day. Election day should be like a holiday. It's a big deal. It is actually a federal holiday. It's a big deal. So it really makes it tough to steal, because you're not putting your vote in the hands of a black box. See, once you put your vote in that black box and it disappears into the ether, it's really tough for us. We come along afterwards, the people on this call that are the election advocates. Now we've got to fight to get the information from, the places that actually stole the vote. That's tough. But if we know on election day and we're watching and people are saying, hey, Greg, we have a website, patriot.online, and people will be able to upload and say, hey, Greg, I had a problem. And we can do this nationally. And we're going to, forward it off to the appropriate people and say, hey, I had a problem on election day. Now we can do something. Okay, we have the evidence, we have the person, they took a picture, they have an affidavit, and now I have something in my hand that's concrete. But if someone says, hey, I dropped my mail-in ballot, in the mail, or I voted early, and I don't think it got counted, what do I do? I mean, I know what we have to do, and we've been doing it for 4 years, but it's a real challenge to do it. However you do it, whoever's right. I don't want John Fredericks. Like I said, I think he's been doing this a long time, and as long if you vote, I think that's a good thing. But I'm going to move through a few things quickly. What we've done, and one of the reasons I've gone a little dark, Steve. We were talking almost every day, and I got a little dark. Was I'm going to share my screen real quick. Can you hold on? Let me.
Yeah, you can share. Click on the share.
It's just a real quick share.
Yeah, no problem. Just click share on the
Heck
bottom
do I
side of the
make this
screen.
more? Hold on. The tech guy is okay. Here we are. Share screen. Let me see. Okay, here we go. So I'm gonna share my screen.
You have to click share again. This is second screen share button.
I got it.
There we go.
There we go.
Good.
So I'm going to drag something up here that we've been working on. Hold on. Darn it. Where the heck is it? Now I can't. Oh, there we go. Okay. Can you see this on your screen?
We see a Word document. Very difficult to read, but we do see a Word document.
So what I want to show you is this Word document here is 369 pages, of which probably about 320 of it is just evidence. Evidence of obstruction, theft, failure to investigate, and basically, run a coup d'etat from 2020, 2022, and what they're doing now. So this has been written as a SCOTUS case. It's already in the trajectory. It's going back and forth now. There's a lot of hurdles to getting this filed. It must be perfect. The first hurdle is get it through the clerks and the people who are administrators in the SCOTUS arena. Once we get this to the SCOTUS hands, it will only take them 3 to 5 days to adjudicate it. But we've got a winning case here. And what this case is going to do, and we've been working for years on it now, I'm going to blow this up, is you're going to recognize probably a lot of the names here. And I was trying to get Heather Honey, because this is like the Pennsylvania crew. There's a lot of people here you might recognize, or at least the Pennsylvania people will recognize. We just didn't have the time to get Heather. She's so busy, and we have some people that are so busy. But this is a emergency writ of mandamus that basically tells the DOJ, the Supreme Court, to order the DOJ and our federal agencies to comply with federal law and immediately investigate fraud. So we've spent a lot of time. This is 4 years worth of work. Like I said, it's already in the pipe. We're talking. It's a real process to get these filed. But this is going in, and this will be filed. And what this is going to do, we hope and we believe, and I'm going to stop sharing now. Raj, can you stop there? I just wanted to show everyone that.
Greg, can you send that out to everybody?
It'll go out. It's going to go out. It's in the what they call the publisher. So there's publishers that specialize in creating. It's actually a book. I mean, they have to produce the SCOTUS. You don't just send an electronic file to them. They print up the printer prints up hundreds of books. And we'll be delivering these books to every congressman, every US senator, everyone in the Pennsylvania legislature, and then to anyone else who wants it, because it's a national case. So it's a real process. So I expect by, I think tomorrow morning, we're working with the proofreaders and everybody else that has to submit this thing. But you'll get a download for the book. There's going to be a book that people can pay a nominal fee for to download and get overnighted to them, or download electronically. But we are making it available to everyone. It's like a primer. It's not only a lawsuit, but it's a primer for winning cases on standing.
How much have you spent of your own money through doing this?
Over 7 figures.
Okay, so if people would like to donate to you, we don't normally do that, but I know you spend so much of your own money. Please let everybody know how they can donate.
www.patriot.online, and it's .online, not .com, .net. It's patriot.online, and there's a donate button there, and we'd appreciate it if you hit it. It's very, very expensive, exhausting. We put a lot into it, but this case has been, the DOJ knows it's coming. Everybody knows it's coming. It's been circulated. It's been a real process to perfect it, because we don't want to waste our time and send a case that's not going to be heard. And we don't live on hopium here in Pennsylvania. We're the Quaker state for a reason. We're quiet, we're reserved, and we value being effective over dramatic. So I just wanted to
know we have a lot of podcasters doing this. Let them know where they can get a hold of you to get you on.
Sure. Well, my email is a good way. My phone is bloated up. Steve, my phone looks like a slot machine, the Vegas slot machines going. So sometimes people go, "Hey, you didn't answer me," and I'm like, dude, if you saw my phone, you're some days you're 200 down. I'm scrolling through 200 texts and calls. My email is the easiest for me to manage, and Gmail's been blocking me quite a bit. But it's G Stenstrom, first initial, last name, STEN as in Nancy, STROM as in Michael, at xmail.net. Xmail.net is our own private server for Patriot Online. So I just want to cover a couple more things. And I want to say, I appreciate everyone's efforts. And I was listening, I had the pleasure, it was an honor to meet Linda, who was on earlier, talking to Heather Honey and her team. And we have the Delco deep divers here, which when you see the Supreme Court case, they're all listed there. And it is a privilege and an honor to be working with them. But I wanted to cover a couple more things that we're doing here. And it's not too late. I mean, a lot of people are looking at this going, hey, there's only, it's less than a month and a half before the election. How can we be effective? So I've been working with a really smart group of people, and actually just a few people in Montgomery County, and we'll be talking about them later. But they have been testing, and they've set up for the drop boxes. I don't know, because I'm on a green screen here, I gotta hold this close. For the drop boxes and for the elections, and particularly places where drop boxes are being dropped. What we said is in the last few elections, there were people sitting by the drop boxes, and we said, bad idea. We don't want anybody in any confrontation. We don't want anybody to feel intimidated that, but what we do want is we want the bad guys to know that these cameras right here, and there'll be hundreds of them, not just in Pennsylvania, but around the state. If you're stuffing a ballot box, there's going to be a 4K camera, and we have other boxes too. There'll be a 4K high resolution camera, and we're going to have them at most drop boxes. If we have to, if we don't have enough, we'll be rotating them around. But what you're going to have to do if you're a bad guy and you're going to be stuffing ballot boxes, then you got to know that we have the technology and we're deploying it. We've already tested it. And that's, Steve, that's why people have been frustrated. Say, hey, Greg, send us a precinct plan. And we're still in test mode. but we're ready now. There's going to be cameras everywhere, and you won't know where they are, and we'll have people quietly and discreetly and honestly, taking these videos. It is lawful to video a public location, and we don't want them confronting. We're going to be watching. And if you're stuffing multiple boxes, we're going to catch you. And the thing is for the certification, remember what the election's not over on November 5th or 6th. It's not over until certification. So what we're going to be doing, unlike the 2020 election, is we're going to go to the legislature and say, here's all the illegal aliens that voted and shouldn't have gotten ballots. Here's all the people that were unqualified electors because they don't live in the locations that they voted from. Here's all the fraudulent ballots. Here's all of the drop box stuffing, and here's their faces and their vehicle license numbers, because we have the technology to do license plate and facial recognition. We don't care what the person's name is. We just care there's a match. But now this is why we're submitting the Supreme Court case, because now the first people that are going to get, you got 2 minutes left?
All over, we have this all over.
Huh?
Keep going, Greg. Steve found someone else. Keep going, Greg.
So, shoot, hold on. Let me just tell Rachel. I've got another. Hey, Rachel, I'm just finishing up with Steve Stern. Sorry, I'm like live. Can I call you back in like 2 minutes? I'll hop on in a few. Okay, thanks, Rachel. Okay, bye. This is Rachel, Rachel Ham. I'm going to go on her show next. But this is the type of thing that I want people to, be encouraged by. This is a really calm way to do things. It's a professional way to do things. We're also challenging mail-in ballot applications that are going to illegals or unregistered. And while what we're doing now is we have a team of people that are sending letters to their respective boards of elections and saying, hey, yesterday we downloaded the mail-in ballot applications and we found 32 people that had registered to get mail-in ballots that aren't eligible for them. And by federal law, you can't send them mail-in ballots. Now, what they've been doing is the corrupt counties who intend to break the law, and Governor Shapiro, who's promoting sending out mail-in ballot applications to anyone who's on a voter roll, regardless of whether they're a qualified elector. Now they're on notice, and it's a felony for the person, in sending out these mail-in ballots. It is literally a crime, punishable by 3 years in prison for every time they send a mail-in ballot out to someone who's not qualified. It's a felony for the person sending it. So we're telling people and we're communicating to these election officials, and a lot of these are good people. These are clerks of elections that are being directed by a partisan political hack, who's come in to say, hey, all these people who are long-term residents and employees and poll workers, they're being told to break the law. Well, now we're going to say, don't do that. Because now we're going to have the evidence. We told you in advance, these people aren't eligible. You said, you're going to do it anyways. And we said, okay, we'll see how that works out. Well, what we had the pleasure and satisfaction of is last week, this group of people, some of whom were watching the show, I'm proud and happy to say that in our county, Delaware County, they withdrew the mail-in ballots. So we're not going to have to challenge those mail-in ballots now. So all of these things that we're doing are forcing boards of elections and forcing counties and forcing the state to comply with federal law. It's all we're doing. Everyone remain calm. What we want to do, and I'm going to close with, because I only have a couple, like 30 seconds more, is our respective state legislatures. In our case, we're concentrating on Pennsylvania. The key to this election is going to be the state legislators, because those are your neighbors, truly your neighbors and friends. Because in the state representatives, like in Pennsylvania, State representatives, in most cases, I hope most of you know who your state rep is. Some people don't even know who their congressman, which is a surprise. But for the people who don't know who the congressmen are and who, who various politicians are, the one person you should know is your state rep, your state representative, your state senator in Pennsylvania. Depending on the type of government in your state, you got to know your neighbors. Introduce yourself, send an email, go and shake their hands and say, hey, I'm Greg Stenstrom, I'm Linda, I'm Steve, damn glad to meet you, and we're going to be watching and we hope that you're going to comply with federal law. And if there's evidence of election fraud, that you're going to investigate that this time and adjudicate it in accordance with law before you certify. It's not just going to be a foregone conclusion based on some mouthpieces saying, oh, it's the safest and most secure election ever. Kamala Harris wins, Trump loses, and now we're not going to comply with the law. We're just going to rubber stamp this. We're going to fabricate an insurrection, by inviting a whole bunch of, citizens, opening the doors of the Capitol and then calling it an insurrection so we can certify the vote at 2:00 in the morning, like skunks, and steal the country. That's not going to happen this time. And I believe and love this republic. And, I'm trusting the people on this call who many have come to know that all of you are doing God's work. You are instruments of God, and you are working to save this republic. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to argue about who's right or wrong. Like John Fredericks earlier, I hate, I don't want to argue and say, hey, John, I think they should vote on election day. I do, but that doesn't mean I'm right. And as long as John's pushing this, and different people have different ideas, but God love you all, we've got to unify, at least not in direct plans, but in efforts, and support each other. John Fredericks, go forth and conquer. Linda, go forth and conquer. Bonji in Florida, kicking ass. Go forth and conquer, and let's keep talking to each other, not just up to election day, but election day and beyond. And if we communicate with each other and stay in this show with Steve and buy his shirts, everyone should be wearing a flag shirt so we all can identify each other, then we're going to come through. This is God's work we're doing. This is what the founders of our country counted on. They counted on a very small percentage of people, okay, just like they were in the beginning, to light the fire, light the candle, and set off the fireworks that will wake other people up and get them to engage. We're doing our jobs. We're going to win. Don't let them take it from you with a psyop. Believe your ears, believe your eyes, believe the evidence, keep the faith, and we'll press forward. President Trump, don't worry about what he's doing. Everyone's questioning his strategy. I think it's a mess. I think he's bracketed, and he's out there slugging away. A very, very brilliant man, a billionaire who's given up his life and his truly given up his life. He's done enough. Let him do what President Trump is going to do, and trust that he is an instrument of God as well. He is who God has sent. He will take care of himself. He is blessed and moving forward and doing what he needs to do. We don't need to coordinate with him necessarily. We don't need to coordinate. We just need to take care of our own backyards. Take care of your own backyards. And now everyone will take care of the whole community. That's where we're going. God love everybody here. Let's keep in touch. I get emails and calls all the time, and get on Steve's call. the next call. This has been amongst really the most valuable group in terms of communications and synergy. And what I've seen is actionable things. I see people taking care and using these opportunities in other people. So thank you very much, everybody. Steve, I'm going to let you close, and I'm going to jump on Rachel Ham's show. So I got to run. Thank you very, very much, Raj. Always a pleasure. Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
What an action-packed show that was, Steve. Just incredible, and what a great guy and leader to sum up everything that's happened here. Steve probably have some comments, but before he does his comments, again, especially for those of you that are watching this on the live stream, please, this is a website everyone's been talking about, the flagship.com right here. Flagship.com. Please get patriotic gear. Why? Because that's what makes these calls possible. Also, please go to Stern American. Go to sternamerican.com. You can see it right here. And if you want to see the replay to this show, just scroll down to the bottom. You will see the Rumble link right there. When you click on the Rumble link, you can see the past episodes. This is the last call right here. 106,000 people watch that, and that is just on Stern American. That doesn't even count all the podcasters that are restreaming this show. So please go to sternamerican.com. Go to the flagship website there that you saw. Common denominator in what you've heard from everybody. Everyone's got a slightly different approach when to vote, this ballot and so on. Common denominator is get people to cast their vote. And so please take advantage of this website. It's called honorhiscross.org, honorhiscross.org. There are people of all faiths that are being abused by government. This is a website that's got information on why those people that are being abused, people of faith, are not voting. If you can get a few of those people to vote, as you heard from multiple speakers, the more people that vote, the more difficult it is to execute their cheat. Also, the website that started so much of this, precinctstrategy.com, you got to go there. The basics are over there. This is the kind of the cornerstone behind a lot of how this call started, so make sure you go there. And if you are watching this on any of the live streams, it's so essential. Please, you have to be in touch. Please text the word election to 91776. Text the word election 91776. We have prepared already a summary of the speakers, their website, their contact information. So if you want to get in touch with the speakers, see what they're about, you will be able to get that. Just type in text the word election to 91776. Let me hand it back to Steve Stern.
So we want to thank a bunch of people. I always try to get people that aren't on or don't get a chance to speak. Tina Celine in California, my very close friend. She's on with me at least 2, 3, 4 times a week. Dan Schultz, without him, I wouldn't be here. He got me on Steve Bannon I think it was 3 years ago. I lost track. I don't know what day it is. John Farrow, who calls me 27 times a day in Pennsylvania to let me know what we got to do. John Childs, who's on here, he's done a terrific job. Raj Dujami, our co-host, Defend Florida, Patriot TV. He's on so many things. We're lucky he gets time to see us. We'll be on next time on the 9th. If you would do me one favor and go to sternamerican.com. Their news, action. We've got a new way to get on. We want to get 1 million people on our Stern American. Then we're going to bring on all the podcasters to help us. Melissa Redpill, over 28,000 people on last time. Today, one of our friends in London is streaming this, and I don't know where he's getting it to, but we'll talk to him. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming on. I appreciate it. I don't get a chance to listen to everybody because I'm talking to all our people that are coming on, mixing and moving them. A lot of people don't know how to get on. You give them the links, they go on to our Stern American, think they can speak on that. So it's a logistic thing. And then all my people back here with the streams and everything like that takes a huge amount of time to do this, but I love it. And God bless our country. And let's hope Trump can win.